Pam Bondi is, without a question, qualified to be Attorney General. She's been a prosecutor for 20 years in Florida. For 8 of those, she was the Attorney General of the state. That's a very big, very complicated job. And that level of experience is on par with or better than most United States Attorneys General that we've seen over the past 50 years or so.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
6 hours after Matt Gaetz suddenly withdrew his nomination, Trump has a new choice. That is the former Florida Attorney General and longtime ally Pam Bondi. Certainly raises the question of whether maybe this was the plan all the way along. Maybe this was just to get Matt Gaetz out of Congress without an ethics report coming out. We'll see. But meanwhile, only 6 hours did it take for Trump to write online just moments ago, quote, Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. I have known Pam for many years. She is smart and tough and is an America First fighter who will do a terrific job as Attorney General. Now, Bondi also making it clear she is on the exact same page as Trump when it comes to his claim that the Justice Department has been politicized.
When Republicans take back the White House, and we will be back in there in 18 months or less, you know what's going to happen? The Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuted, the bad ones. The investigators will be investigated, because the deep state, last term for President Trump, they were hiding in the shadows. But now they have a spotlight on them, and they can all be investigated, and the House needs to be cleaned out.
I mean, that is as clear as it gets. That is where she stands. That is what Trump wants. She was also, though, very present on the campaign trail this year. She was a staple, joining Trump at campaign rallies across the country. And as I mentioned, her nomination came in just 6 hours after Gaetz dropped out. Meantime, just a few moments ago, Gaetz posted, I look forward to continuing to fight to save our country, just maybe from a different post.
To come in. Pam Bondi and the president-elect go way back. She, for a time, served as the attorney general in Florida, the first female to do so. She was also a local and state prosecutor and defended the president-elect during his first impeachment trial. In support of Bondi, the president-elect said, quote, for too long, the partisan Department of Justice has been weaponized against me and other Republicans. Not anymore. Pam will refocus the Department of Justice to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. So these two have a long history together, and this is in keeping with what we've seen from the president-elect as he's been building out his cabinet.
First and foremost, she's a prosecutor. She's a good trial attorney, formidable in a courtroom, quite honestly. Now, as an attorney general, she's not going to show up in a criminal courtroom very often, but she does have that ability, that style, and that presence that I think is going to serve her very well as the attorney general.
So, Mark, how would you say her experience stacks up for the job that she has been nominated for? Because there have been sort of two parallel tracks here as we've been trying to cover Trump's nominees for these positions. Some of them have very problematic personal issues. Matt Gaetz is a good example, the one who obviously just was pulled to make way for Bondi. But the other is questions about, okay, what experience do you bring to the job? Does it line up with the types of experience that others have brought to the job in the past? How does Bondi's experience stack up in terms of others who have also been attorneys general of the United States?
Well, if I compare it to the most recent nominee, Matt Gaetz, they are worlds apart. Matt Gaetz, I don't think had any experience in a courtroom, no real trial experience. And although trial experience in and of itself isn't necessary for the job, the idea of being comfortable in a courtroom and presenting yourself, it has become pretty apparent, not only when she was a prosecutor over in Hillsborough County, but since that she has a great presence. And after all, the attorney general job is sort of just that. So I think she, comparing to Gaetz, also comparing to some of the other nominees for the other positions, she has the pedigree. She truly does, because she's, again, been in a courtroom, presents very well. I think she's going to be an easy nominee approval.
Experience, much more traditional than what you would see in a top DOJ post, because she was the top law enforcement official in the state of Florida, and she has over 15 years experience in that role and other roles as a prosecutor. If you remember Kamala Harris running for president and talking about being a prosecutor at the state level, this is that kind of job. And so in that experience, it is much more of a traditional role, something that the Senate Judiciary Committee and others who vet these kind of nominees would see as a positive, as experience.